Thank you for joining. Welcome to the Forge Partner Talk series. This week, our episode focuses on enterprise integration. I'm Sanjana Chand. I'm the Forge Developer Marketing Manager. At the end of today's panel, I'll be relaying the questions you submit, so please feel free to ask any questions you like under the Q&A tab. This session will be recorded. And now I'll hand it over to our host, Emily Sherbensky.
Thank you, Sanjana. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today. I know many of you in the States are coming back from a holiday, and also in Europe, many of you are going on holiday this month, so I appreciate your time today. As Sanjana said, my name is Emily Sherbensky. I lead the Forge marketing team at Autodesk, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar and our topic, which is enterprise integration. As Sanjana mentioned, please submit questions throughout the session, and we will make sure that we address them at the very end. So with that, let's kick off with introductions. So first off, we have Kelly Doyle joining us, who's the Chief Operating Officer from ProjectReady. Kelly, would you like to quickly introduce yourself and ProjectReady?
Sure, great. Thanks for the opportunity. My name is Kelly, obviously. What I would like to do is just a quick introduction about what we do. ProjectReady provides an integrated data environment connecting the AEC owner stakeholders and their projects across systems and companies. An IDE, which is what we're calling it, creates a secure framework to deliver project information, content, and communications across the various stakeholders, the systems that they use, the common data environments and content storage platforms during the different phases in a project. Some of these systems are like SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, BIM 360, PlanGrid. We bring all that together within the context of the project.
Great. And where are you guys headquartered and based?
Sure. We are headquartered out of New York, Westchester County, New York. I work from a remote office in Austin, Texas. So I'm off the East Coast, but loving life here in Austin.
Great. Thank you. All right. And then next up, we have Peeter Pärna, who's the CEO of INTELSYS Buildworks. Peter, would you like to introduce yourself and your company?
Hello, everyone. My name is Peter. So we are doing the enterprise integrations also, but with different enterprise solutions compared to ProjectReady. So we are focusing on integrating design to enterprise resource planning applications like SAP, Oracle, Microsoft. And the focus is really on bridging the gap between design and execution in terms of procurement, manufacturing, and other processes that are companies running on ERP systems. And we'll be talking about this later today.
Great. And where are you located today?
We are located in Tallinn, in Estonia, but we are offering software as a service globally and doing projects in US at the moment primarily.
Yep. And you guys are also one of our Forge systems integrators.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So we can touch on that later too. All right, so let's jump into some more detail. And I'd like to start with Kelly today.
Sure.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the enterprise solution integration that your team has built? And feel free to share a demo and walk us through that.
Sure. So at its core, what we're doing, as I mentioned in the introduction, is creating a secure framework around a project. Projects go through different phases. You have your owners starting out where it's an idea, pencil sketch on the back of a napkin, right? And it works through the entire process. And what we believe is there needs to be a secure framework to initially that the owner sets up so that you can bring in the appropriate systems to go through all those phases. That can grow with, and at the end, the owner's left with the information that they need. And we programmatically set up the systems like BIM 360 and SharePoint around a project. So we're creating a container, if you will, around that project with the appropriate security and governance. We're handling all that across systems, across platforms, which we think is pretty unique. And this really facilitates connected workflows between the systems, allowing for secure communication, collaboration, and content distribution. An example of it is our connected workflows BIM 360 issues and plan grid RFIs, things of that nature. And I'll show some of that during the demo. So, perhaps that's a good segue into it, and we can see it in context. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and we'll give it a quick run through. All right, you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, so where I want to start is with our dashboard. Our dashboard allows the users to see what's going on in their week. It's connecting the different projects that they're involved in, the different tasks that are assigned to them on particular projects, whether it is a project task or a document control task. And then in the lower section of the dashboard here, you'll see that there are cards represented for each one of the projects that that person is assigned to, giving some key KPI and also connections to the different systems that are part of that particular project. So what you see here is an actual project dashboard, and you'll notice that there is the project name and project ID, and you'll see what we're highlighting right now is a connection to those systems. It's a common interface, but really it's that project ID that ties everything together. And that allows us to have each one of these systems be connected to the project. So in that, when we bring a project together, we spin up Microsoft Teams. This gives you a place to have posts, so your regular chat communication. And then we also provision ProjectReady within that particular Microsoft team, which is dedicated to a specific project. This gives the full feature and functionality view to the person using a single pane of glass. We spin up SharePoint with that particular project name and project ID. We spin up BIM 360 again with the project name and project ID, and also PlanGrid. So you'll see that that's common. And what that allows us to do is set up the connected workflows that I talked about. So instead of, or I should say, in addition to getting emails from each one of these systems saying there's something assigned to you, it actually surfaces on your dashboard. That way you don't have to go searching through 300 emails to find it. It's right here for you to look at. So if we click on one of these issues, it actually fires up and takes the person right to that issue in the underlying system, whether it's BIM 360 or in this case, PlanGrid. And now you can action that item with the full feature and functionality that you have within that core system. But we are logging it in ProjectReady so that way you keep track of what you're responsible for, right? And because we have this connection, we also do something else that's pretty unique with our approval processes, our document control processes. And you'll see this is a content approval as an example, where we're going to build a package and send it out to folks. Each one of our workflows starts with a wizard, and it follows really the same path. So we know we have some content in different places, but again, you'll notice the name and the project ID tying everything together. So within SharePoint, we can find a particular file, and because of the system integration, the enterprise integration, we can actually look at this file from within SharePoint. So you're connecting multiple systems there and validate this is the one we want and add it to the package, just like an Amazon shopping cart. Now we can go to BIM 360 and we'll find some content there. And again, with our integration, our enterprise integration between platforms, we're able to leverage things like the Forge viewer here to look at this Revit model to make sure this is the file that we want before we send it out. So it's connecting these systems, creating a usable workflow. Okay, so we'll go ahead and grab this file and also add that to the package. Now what we can do is take these files and assign them to folks within the workflow to actually advance it along. So if we grab these files, we can either have individuals or a team that we select and that we want to send these files to for approval. We can work with either a parallel or a serial workflow, which means that it goes to everybody at the same time, or individually through a sequence. In this case, what we can do is say the last person on the list is view only. The other thing uniquely that we do is once the content is approved, we can push it straight to BIM 360. So another leveraging that enterprise integration to once the workflow is complete, actually extending it out to another enterprise system. So just quickly, you notice there was multiple people on this workflow. The first person engages with it. They are taken right to that particular package that they need to approve. They can see the files, they can engage with the files, and then they can make comments on this particular file, which then follow. Now the second approver gets it, And in this case, we're going to follow through an email notification. So another way to get to the same information takes you to a very similar user interface. This person does their approval process, makes their own comments, and you'll see that what this does is it allows multiple people to comment on the package. All of that is flowing through. So the second person can now just add their, submit that, and it moves along to the final approver. Again, we can use the filter to get down, and now it's done. And the person who initiated it can see the full accounting here of where things are in the process. Now, once we've completed the process, we've automatically written it to BIM 360 as a completed package, and you'll see both the files and a cover sheet generated by the system, and that is it. That's how quickly we can advance something through the multiple systems here, but in a secure way. Only the people that are involved in the process can see what's going on there.
Can you talk a little bit more about the secure part? So how do you ensure the security of data?
Sure. So Microsoft Azure Active Directory is the underlying authentication that we use with ProjectReady. So that allows us to connect the system's multiple systems to that framework, if you will. And then our security matrix works by role. So if someone is invited to the project on a specific role, then they are able to have access to something or not. So as an example, when you were in that content cart, if there's a library there that you don't have access to, it will not even show up to give you the choice to grab it from there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And then how long do these actually take to set up for a customer?
Well, that's something I think we do pretty uniquely, which, I'll brag for a second. We can literally build out a project container with SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, BIM 360, and Box based around a project template and a team. Once you click submit, it's 3 to 5 minutes. It's built out with all of the security across those enterprise systems.
Wow. It's pretty efficient.
Yes. Well, what we've done is we've leveraged 20 years worth of SharePoint services and Microsoft services experience to learn how to automate all those things in the back end. And it really, it equates to a 95% reduction in the IT overhead, the administrative overhead it takes to spin up projects like this.
Wow, that's a pretty great benefit right there that you just mentioned. Kind of thinking through other customer benefits and any customer stories you might have to share and call out. What generally are customers coming out of these integrations seeing as results? Sorry,
the water went down the wrong pipe. So as an example, AECOM is one of our clients, and the primary use case right now is with their P3 group, their alternate delivery group, and they were using this secure framework to actually connect multiple enterprise systems across multiple global enterprises. Mm-hmm. Right? Think of organizations of similar size to AECOM all needing to work together. They already have existing systems. They're using BIM 360. They're using Microsoft 365 and other tools. But they need a common thread to bring that all together so that they have a clear communication channel, a clear collaboration channel, and a way to move content between the systems. That's what ProjectReady does for them. That's the benefit. Up to this point, they've not had that level of connectivity. Similarly, there's an organization called BNA, which is building a bridge between the U.S. and Canada. And again, it's multi organization, enterprise organizations, and the team that we're working with is the document control team for this project. Then it's a joint venture environment. So they need a way to have those document control workflows cross multiple parties in a secure way. And that's what that link together with the Microsoft Azure Active Directory helps us do and helps them do.
Okay, and then one last question. You called out using the Forge viewer, but what other Forge APIs do you use in building these integrations?
Sure. So we connect to BIM 360 Docs using Forge APIs. We use the OAuth, data management, BIM 360 account management, and webhook APIs. And using Forge, what we're able to do is automate setting up the projects, assigning project admins, managing members, and accessing and synchronizing data. So it's really, it's core to the fabric of pulling all these things together.
Great. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's move over to Peter for a little bit. And Peter, I'd love to hear a little bit more about INTELSYS Buildworks and the types of integrations that you guys do.
All right. I will share my screen.
Great.
All right. So Buildworks is a new solution coming to the market. We have been doing beta piloting projects since last year, and basically the concept of Buildworks is about bridging the gap between design and project execution. So when you think of large companies, they have invested heavily in ERP systems, enterprise resource planning systems that help to integrate business processes from sales to manufacturing to procurement, and we have always financial accounting and financial controlling underneath. And now we have a different set of tools for design field, and really we have been trying to connect these two worlds. And when we talk about the ERP systems, then some of the vendors are SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, Odoo, Sage, and these are the systems where the core processes are running. So when companies are purchasing something, for example, they always have to create a purchase order to track the financials and track the inventory and so on. And so we are helping companies to move from design to project execution in terms of procurement, manufacturing, on-site construction. So the ultimate goal is to have an integrated business process and automated, streamlined way of working. So that's the summary in short. And when we talk about the landscape, then in the bottom right, we have BIM 360 from Autodesk. So this is where the BIM files are living, BIM models are living. And then enterprises have ERP solutions like SAP and Oracle and Microsoft. And so Buildworks is a software as a service that has a integration to BIM 360 solutions via Forge APIs. And on the other hand, we have integrations to ERP solutions. And now when we get the BIM model, we help companies to, let's say, perform a material takeoff, assign products, create a bill of materials, set this information up in ERP systems, and then they can follow the processes they have set up in ERP systems to execute the project.
So are these, is this kind of a custom solution? You mentioned software as a service. Is it out of the box? Is it pretty easy for a customer to set up?
It's pretty easy. We help when it comes to like creating accounts and getting access to the system. Of course, these processes are sometimes complicated, so we have to think of how we design to make sure that the design in BIM meets the requirement of project execution, so that it's easy to start procurement, manufacturing, so on. And we have to look at the big picture, and actually it all comes from defining the requirements for BIM so that we can automate the processes. The two prerequisites for automating the processes are we need to have good quality of data in BIM, and we need to have a clear like well-defined business processes, and so the metadata that is embedded in BIM, not just the geometric representation of a building or infrastructure, but the metadata in terms of Revit properties and parameters, and this is really the key in automating business processes.
Do you find that your customers, because you sound like customer requirements, do they often have this good BIM data and business processes set in place, or is that something you tend to help them with?
Yeah, usually when we start the project, we share a best practice that we have developed and that help to speed up the implementation process, so that the design and engineering team can adopt our best practice. They can do small changes in terms of what metadata they need to embed in the BIM models, like parameters. And this helps us to bridge the gap between design and execution easily. Yeah, we help companies to set this up. We are about to release online trainings and help portal, and we are helping with a small consulting project to speed up the process so that the results are delivered quickly.
Okay. And then, do you have any customer examples to share or information around the benefits that customers are finding through these implementations?
Absolutely. I mean, the main benefit is integrated business process. So if we have to summarize our value we're delivering in one word, really, it's integration. It's making sure that the information is flowing from one department to another, that the people are collaborating across divisions or departments, and yeah, so integration is really the key here. Integration of business processes. So it ultimately just saves time, saves money, and the processes will be much more efficient. So
okay,
we can speed up the delivery. Yeah. So do you want to have a look at it?
Yeah, please.
All right. So it's a software as a service. We have a role-based system. Every user will be assigned a role that they are responsible for at an organization. So the tiles on the launchpad represent reports or different transactional applications that are available in Buildworks. So first of all, it shows you non-project specific applications. One thing I'd like to highlight is that our solution is heavily based on BIM classifications. So we are delivering, for example, OmniClass from US, Uniclass by the system, and this helps us to automate the business processes. So we can manage. We can set up the business rules based on classifications, and I can quickly show you a project. So we can open a project, and it opens a project-specific menu. So when it comes to like requirements for design and engineering, then it's all about defining the BIM parameters and the requirements for design. So, and we can map it to the source files. We can map it to source Revit files, source IFC files, so on. And when we get the BIM models, we can validate the design deliverables. So we can see if the parameters have been filled in correctly. And when everything looks okay, we can move on with a takeoff. So we can open a BIM model or different BIM models and save all the elements into a database. So we have a relational database underneath with a BIM parameter server that helps us to automate. And so right now we see the all the elements divided into the Omni class 21 classification by building systems. And I can, for example, search for something, for a door. And we can view its parameters here. At any point, I can switch on the viewer so that I can highlight it on a BIM model. And the BIM models are in BIM 360 docs, so you don't need to import anything to Buildworks, and we can work with a single source of truth, so to say. And so we have door here. We can save the parameters, see their quantities, and then often when we talk about prefab, it's about managing the bill of material. It's defining the way we are producing houses in terms of modular design, and so we have solutions for that. And also when it comes to assigning a product from product master, I can pick up the same door example here. Then we have a product library that is connected to the ERP material master data, and basically the people who are responsible for procurement or for design, they can go through the BIM models and assign the real products from product library. So in this case, this door has been assigned to oak door with hardware in our product database, and I can see the other products here available in the system. And last but not least, we want to transfer this data to ERP. So we have a scheduling solution where we schedule our manufacturing, our construction to get the time dimension to the BIM models. And when we have time, when we have products assigned, we can really click on a project task here. In the bottom, we can see the material requirements by product groups. And when we click on a product group, we can see the list of products required, and then we can just click on these products, sync this data back to ERP systems, and the procurement team can start working on the creating the purchase requisitions and purchase orders to make things happen.
Great.
Yeah, so it's about really connecting the two worlds, connecting the ERP systems with BIM, and preparing data for procurement, for manufacturing in ERP systems where companies have invested heavily.
Yeah, no, thank you.
So
I think the demo is very helpful. Just to pull out how you used Forge here, and you mentioned it's helping to pull in the BIM data. What Forge APIs are you using in the solution?
We are using the viewer, obviously, that we saw in the demo. So Forge viewer is part of every application in Buildworks, and it helps us to visualize different business events, business processes, and provide context to increase understanding what's going on. So seeing is believing, and so we are using also other APIs to extract data from BIM models to get the metadata for elements in the Revit files, for example, and we are also looking forward to integrate with Autodesk Construction Cloud in the future. So So the APIs of Autodesk are something we have been working on, and so that's pretty important in the context of Buildworks.
Great. All right, thank you. So before we move to customer questions, I have a couple more questions for both of you. And the first is really around, the benefits to these enterprise integrations and getting all your data in one place. They're pretty obvious to me. But what I'd like to understand is, what are the 3 main challenges that still exist for these integrations to happen? And I know we touched on it a little bit, but if you had to pick the top 3 challenges or barriers to really implementing these integrations at an enterprise level, what would they be?
I guess I can take the first stab at that. What comes to mind first is establishing security across multiple systems, right? That in itself creates a challenge, and we love the ability to leverage the Forge APIs to do that. As an example, with the different products within the Autodesk portfolio, we find that some of the tooling has APIs. I don't want to say better or worse, but there are certain features that we need are available in one versus the other. So like any evolving system, sometimes creating that next linkage, right? Connecting those next workflows requires APIs to catch up, and that's across the board for all enterprise systems that we work with. The other thing that I think is a challenge that prevents enterprise systems from connecting with each other is folks understanding and having a frame of reference for how workflows can connect. It's not just connecting ones and zeros and handshakes, right? It's how somebody going to use that, and how does that amplify? And I think that creates an issue for user adoption. So there's a bit of a chicken and the egg there, and that's why we focus so heavily on connected workflows. What we see is the user experience is the new middleware, right? The digital handshake is happening in the background, but that user experience, taking it from one process to another, really is the main requirement. And we often have to either come up with that ourselves, as we showed with the content cart and the moving things across that workflow. That's something that's pretty unique, but we took that from the consumer experience. So perhaps there's more effort to apply the consumer experience to what we do in the business to business world. I don't have a third one coming to my mind at the moment, so I'll defer to Peter to see what he thinks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, from our perspective, I think to automate business processes and bridge the gap between design and execution, it's really critical to have the right master data, to have the right business processes, well-defined business processes, and the right people. So when you have these 3 components in place, then I think everything will work out. So what I mean by master data, I mean the right setup in terms of organizational structures, the right material master data, then the right activity library for resource-based budgeting and estimation and planning in general, and then business processes. So we need to have a clear understanding how we want to execute the project, and so yeah, these are the key challenges we are working on with every customer almost.
Yeah. It sounds almost like some of the larger, older customers might have more of a challenge in meeting those basic requirements, right? Because a lot of their solutions are legacy solutions that don't quite have the same data structure that you're looking for now. Would that be a valid statement?
Yeah, I think that's spot on. In my previous life, I ran the construction technology practice for JB Knowledge, and getting out and talking to contractors about their construction technology deployment and how they use things. There's a lot there's a lot they don't know. When I say they, the consumers of the software applications that we build, they don't know what they don't know, and they're looking for the industry to help them understand the state of the possible. And those legacy systems, a lot of the processes are built on the requirements from those legacy systems, right? So you kind of need to bridge that gap and say, where can we extract data from the legacy systems, but reimagine the workflows, if you will, so that way we can leverage the integrations and not just try to automate an old process. Let's reimagine the process within that state of the possible, and just you're pulling data from someplace. It's, you know, that's the easy part, really.
Yeah, that's really a really good point. Reimagining the business process. Technology offers so many new ways of working now, and that's really the key, redesign of business processes. So I agree.
Great. And then last question from me, and we'll move to the audience questions I see coming in. This is to both of you again. What's next for you guys? Do you have more integrations coming down the line? Are you focused on really kind of different aspects of your current integrations? What's coming?
Sure. So we definitely have more integrations coming down the line. You know, if I refer to a recent McKinsey report just came out, I believe last month, you know, they're talking about the next normal in construction, and they want to see a more highly complex and standardized and consolidated model, an integrated process, right? And that includes not just design and construction, but manufacturing, transportation, and logistics across the entire value chain. Well, with each one of those subsystems, there's a boundary of governance that needs to occur, right? So that's where we see our future integrations coming, is how do we bring these external systems together to create a system of systems within a secure framework. So that's probably the most concise way I can say it.
I like that, systems of systems. Yeah. Okay. And Peter?
Yeah, so I briefly mentioned already earlier that we are looking into the Autodesk Construction Cloud APIs, how to integrate Buildworks also with other Autodesk products for on-site construction management, for example. And on the other hand, we are also diversifying our integrations to ERP systems. So our background is 20 years of SAP consulting, but we are now more and more developing interfaces to other ERP solutions also, so that customers of other solutions can reap the same benefits of integrated business process.
Great. All right, Sanjana, do you want to let us know what our attendees are asking?
Sure. Some of these you may have already touched on, but we can still go over them again if you like. So the first one is, are these dashboards accessible on mobile, like an iPad on a construction site?
Sure. So it sounds like I talked about dashboards, so I'll address that. Yes, our application is fully accessible by mobile. It is not a standalone mobile app at this time. We don't have that standalone interface, but it's fully scalable on devices. It modifies itself accordingly. You know, I let my smart folks in the technical development part of the org, you know, handle those details. But yes, I use it on a mobile app all the time. I use it on my iPad as well. And as long as you have an internet connection, we can handle that. And then there are other things that we can extend out into, let's say, the Microsoft ecosystem as well, by operating inside of Microsoft Teams and the like. You can communicate using your Microsoft Teams app within the context of the project, and that's stored within the project.
Cool. How do you handle proprietary data formats?
Is it a question to me or Kelly or both?
You can both answer it. You can start.
Yeah, so proprietary. So Revit file, for example. So Forge API, BIM 360 Docs supports it, so we can since we have integration via Forge, there is no problem with the Autodesk products. We can also work with IFC formats via BIM 360 and Forge. But that's about it at the moment when it comes to BIM formats. So IFC and all Autodesk formats are supported.
Yeah, we're not really integrating or dealing with the data formats. The beautiful thing about ProjectReady is we sit on top of our users or our customers' SharePoint and Azure SQL database that's behind everything. We're just an application that sits on top. So we don't actually store or own any of the data. It's all in their system. We're just a transaction engine, if you will. So not something we're really getting involved there with different formats.
Are you using AI technologies in your development? If so, how?
Currently, we are not applying any AI to our platform. We are starting to add bots into our platform, which does use some of that, and that's leveraging Microsoft Framework initially. The one benefit that we have, though, is because we're a transactional engine, and as content flows through us and we know where things are coming from one system and going to another, we're actually aggregating data across systems. So this gives us the ability to apply AI in the future to work with that data. It's unifying that data, if you will.
So we are working on AI technology as well to automate some of the processes or workflows. And currently, so it's in the pipeline, I would say.
Great. And you touched on this earlier, but maybe we can reiterate. Can you integrate data from on-premise legacy systems, or do these solutions deal strictly with cloud-based data?
When it comes to Buildworks, then absolutely. So most of our customers have on-prem ERP systems, and Buildworks is a software as a service. It's a cloud-based solution, and we can integrate the two. So we have an application where we can configure the standard like web services from the ERP, from the backend side, and then Buildworks knows where to read data, where to send data, and we can work with on-prem solutions. Yes.
Sure. I mean, that's a reality with the world right now, right? There are some systems that are on-prem. There are some systems with the cloud. We're really, any way you look at it, it's hybrid. Even though we are a cloud-based only system, we do have the ability to interact with. So as an example, if you need to extract financial data out of an ERP, which may be on-prem, we use our SQL connector to pull that data out, and we can ingest up to 100 data points from other systems and then bring them into ProjectReady. And then if there's cloud-based content like Revit files stored in Autodesk BIM 360 that we want to transfer to some other system or deliver for an approval, we can pick that up out of the cloud repository and then share it accordingly within a secure framework.
So then are you transferring data in real time?
What we're moving between systems, when it comes to content, we're picking it up from one system and we're moving it to the other. So that's in real time as you step through the process. Any data that we're getting from another system, that can either be something that's scheduled. Most often that's a scheduled information that comes in. You know, it's kind of a job that brings it from one system to the other.
Okay, we have one last question. Maybe we can start with you, Peter. How quickly can you onboard new integrations?
Depends on integration. If we have an application from the Buildworks side to implement it, if we have the data ready, so to say, so it depends on the system we have to integrate as well. I can't answer it. It can take from 1 hour to really 1 week. We have to be more specific. We need to have a look at it, the integration first. But I would say with SAP, if backend system is SAP, we can get things done fairly quickly. And we are speeding up the integration process with other ERP systems also.
So we spent a fair amount of time setting up the plumbing in the back end, if you will, to help facilitate future integrations. And we did that back when it was just BIM 360 that we integrated to. It helped us set up that secure framework. And what that allows us to do is then act quickly. As an example, I think it was about a month ago, our head of development, Shaylee, attended a PlanGrid webinar. And within less than a week, we had a working prototype. And a month later, we have, you guys saw it, PlanGrid's on the desktop, and we have that integration working quickly. So once you set up that secure framework, it really makes those new integrations work more easily. Obviously, some are more complex than others. And when you're bringing in content from other places or you're bringing in data from other places, it's really a function of how are you doing it? Do you require a full integration, or can you ingest data into the application?
We actually do have one more question. Do you collaborate or foresee a requirement to work on geometry data in addition to product data?
Can you repeat the question? I didn't understand it.
Do you collaborate or foresee a requirement to work on geometry data in addition to product data?
So yes, if I understand the question correctly, then definitely the big concept we are focusing on is design for manufacturing and design for some other business process like procurement or sales, or so that design has to ultimately fulfill the project execution requirements. And therefore, since we understand the business process, how to bridge the gap between like design and execution and what's happening in ERP systems, then we have developed the best practice that we can share with the customer, and definitely we can help the customer to do some changes in BIM execution plan, for example, so that the BIM models, the deliverables from design and engineering phase, they meet the requirements of other divisions in the company later on, or other stakeholders in the project. It doesn't have to be the same company. So we definitely share our knowledge and help customers to improve the requirements for design. To define the information requirements, for example, and deliverables in general. I hope I answered the question.
I think you did.
And nothing from us. That's not one of our areas of expertise.
All right, I have one last question.
Sure.
Unless, Sanjana, was that all the audience questions, right?
Those are all the audience questions.
Okay, so I just wanted to see if you guys had parting words of advice to any of our customers on the phone that might, or listening to the webinar, who might be just getting started on their enterprise integration journey. it can be intimidating, I think. So what advice would you give customers that are looking for solutions right now?
Well, I think the key thing to keep in mind is that the inevitable is now, right? If we've learned anything from COVID-19 is that we're being forced to innovate and standardize, right? Remote and distributed collaboration are no longer a nice to have. Project stakeholders need to be more agile and that means doing something, right? So thinking about those and looking into the areas of their organization where there is a silo, where there is a breakdown in communication, things that require uploads and downloads instead of just moving things across. And then look at it from a workflow perspective. Who needs to touch it? What system is it coming from? Where does it need to go? And before you worry about the technical stuff in the background, have a clear understanding of what you're trying to accomplish. And the best way to accomplish that is by engaging the users in your organization, right? Because even if you just look at it from a change management perspective, if you ask them what they need, and then you build something that closely resembles what they've asked for, then the change management will be that much easier because you can demonstrate we gave you 80, 90, 100% of what you were looking for, right? So that workflow drives the process, and it also makes it easier for the technology providers like everybody on the phone here to develop the solutions they need that actually meet those requirements. So I think that's the best starting place.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, so my recommendation is to really focus on setting up integrated business process. And this comes down to the question of minimizing the number of IT systems you want to implement. So really don't go for a best of breed solution for every specific task that somebody has to do in the company, but look more from the platform perspective, from the ecosystem perspective. And I think Autodesk and with its partner ecosystem is a great strategy. You end up with less number of systems perhaps that are integrated with each other. And if you go for best of breed strategy, you pick the best solution for every task at every division, then we end up with data silos and business process that is not integrated. We have to manually send data from one system to another, or it will be not the best user experience at the end of the day. And so really try to minimize the number of IT systems. And so Buildworks is part of Autodesk BIM 360 ecosystem. We have pretty good integrations, and we can integrate the Autodesk suite with your existing legacy systems and ERP solutions.
Great. All right, well, we're almost at the top of the hour. So with that, the session was recorded. We're going to be posting it. You can find the recording link on our Forge blog. Feel free to share that. Our next webinar is coming up in 2 weeks, and we're going to be talking about the digital buying experience, which should be a great session. So you'll get an email follow-up from this session as well. You'll get the link to the recording. You can register for our next set of webinars. We're going to be extending this through August, and we'll be releasing those topics soon. And then just a final thank you to our guests from INTELSYS Buildworks and ProjectReady. Thank you for sharing the great work that you guys have done. And thanks to everyone on the phone for joining us today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.